Representative, if the Fed can come down with strict rules on stock trading, why hasn't it happened on Capitol Hill?
Well, I think you probably see it was just pointed out that there are several bills circulating right now with one theme, which is that members of Congress shouldn't be actively involved day to day in trading and buying and selling of securities. And I think that's the direction we're moving in. And obviously, you've got different drafts out there right now, and we'll see what happens in the coming weeks and months.
As Elon had mentioned, Congressman, what the Fed has enacted just about half an hour ago or so is more strict than any of the bills put forth by Congress. Shouldn't Congress be subject to the same rules that the Fed is? Why would rules that pertain to Congress, why should they be more lax?
Obviously, it just came out in the last minutes, so I haven't seen the specifics yet of exactly what they put in place. But I think overall, the idea here is the right idea, which is that members should not be actively involved day-to-day trading, avoiding any, of course, conflicts of interest, and that's the way it should be. And I think that's, as you pointed out, the direction we're moving in, including with judges. I think you could see it actually going broader over government employees writ large that are involved in any kind of policy making. So, I think that's the direction we're moving in. As I understand it, Congressman, you are an active trader yourself. Do you have any say in how those trades are directed? Well, I'm not. I mean, I turned over the keys when I got elected. In fact, ahead of when I got elected to a third party, which is, I think, what you should do. I have nothing to do with managing my portfolio, which is how it should be, right? There shouldn't be any kind of involvement day to day of a member of Congress. And that's why I turned it over to a third party right away. And I think others should be doing that right away if they haven't, as we move to put in these other in other protections in place. When you say a third party, do you mean a blind trust? Well, I handed over a power of attorney to a third party, to an investor, and they took over. So I'm not aware of what's bought or sold at the time. Do you think that a blind trust should be permitted? Do you think that a third party, I mean, it sounds like you think that that's fine. Oh, no, I think right now, I think blind trust is certainly an option, that we should consider. I think you shouldn't, I think that is, as I pointed out before, there are several different options at the table. They each have different factors in them. And I think setting up blind trusts is certainly one way that we should consider. And crypto should be included, correct? I mean, is that what you think? Certainly. Yeah. Why do you think that there's some reluctance by some of your peers to include certain asset classes or to actually put a ban on trading? Well, I don't think no one I've spoken to is reluctant. I think it's making sure that you set up something that's actually practical. People come in from all different positions, right? And from the private sector, or they have family holdings. And I think it's just making sure it gets set up in a way that I believe, as I said, lives up to the idea that no member of Congress should be actively involved in the buying and selling of securities day to day. And that's the way it should be. And I think we need to set up a structure that does that. And I think there are a lot of options at the table. I'll read what the Fed does as soon as I'm off here. But I think it's important. And you mentioned cryptocurrencies before. I think it should be included. I've got a piece of legislation that I've been working on for months called the Stablecoin Innovation and Protection Act, which is all about setting up a one-to-one backing from U.S. currency of stablecoins, and which are digital representations of a dollar, as I see them. And I've been very focused on that because I'm worried talk about just Americans right now and being at risk with some of these stablecoins and what could happen if there's a run on the market here, and making sure we protect consumers and that we're doing everything we can to give the certainty of the marketplace that we need to make sure these companies grow and prosper in the United States, but also that we protect our consumers. In terms of the allocations of the assets which these stablecoins are backed by, Congressman, is there a minimum requirement in terms of how many dollars it has to hold versus dollar equivalents? It's a great question. Well, it depends if there's two options that my bill sets up. You can be non-bank or banked. And if it's non-bank, it's got to have 100% reserve assets of U.S. dollars or the short-term assets like U.S. Treasuries. And then, of course, a bank would be traditional holdings and requirements. I think it's important that we are providing the kind of assurances to people who are purchasing these qualified stablecoins, as I call them in my legislation, and the people know they're backed, right, and backed by U.S. dollars, by U.S. currency. I think that's a very important part of that, and it's what I'm hearing, frankly, I've been meeting with a lot of not just the regulators or in Treasury and the SEC, but also those in the space who, the FTXs of the world and Coinbase and Circle and others who we've been meeting with and talking to, and they were very positive of the direction we're moving in here.
Yep. Congressman, thanks so much for your time and for your thoughts on all sorts of different topics today.
Shepard Smith here. Thanks for watching CNBC on YouTube.